Hello students and welcome to session 3 on reading comprehension module 2. हमेशा की तरह I'll just recapitulate what we have done in the last two lectures and then we'll set the agenda for this session as well. In the last two sessions we talked about the various things which we need to take care of in reading comprehension, and then we moved to how to approach passages. Right? What kind of questions which you can expect in the passages, that's what we were doing in the last two videos. And जिन लोगों ने भी videos नहीं देखा है, for those who have not watched my videos, my suggestion is before moving forward, I suggest that to please do watch those videos again, or let's say if you have not watched it before, so that you should know what are the things which is coming your way and how basically we are building on the reading comprehension module. So today the agenda of the session is how to approach questions, or rather I would try to say, or I would say that how to eliminate the options. Approach, yes, it's good that how to approach the question, मुझे क्या question attempt करने चाहिए या नहीं करने चाहिए, but majorly I'll be talking about how to eliminate the options, because majority of the students struggle that sir, out of those 4 options I'm easily able to eliminate the 2 options and then the rest 2, and there I end up marking the wrong one. How to tackle that particular problem, and that's where I can really help you out. And I always tell students that when it comes to reading, I can suggest you many blogs or many websites or books, how to read, what to read. You must be getting all those things in my videos also. But one thing which you need to understand here at this point of time is that reading, अगर आप मेरे को आके बोल रहे हो सर मेरे से read नहीं हो रहा, probably I'll not be able to help much on that part, because without reading, to crack or to ace verbal ability and reading comprehension section is difficult. But when it comes to, let's say, eliminating the options or solving the questions, that's where I'll try my best to help you out, and keep listening to the videos as and when they are coming, so that you should not miss out on anything. So let's start the session today. So when I'm talking about the session, this is what I'll be doing, how to eliminate the options. And when I'm trying to eliminate the options, these are the 4 things which I will be talking about. हालांकि मैं अभी आपको चाहता हूं तो ये समझा सकता हूं, बट मैं ज्यादा डिटेल्स के अंदर नहीं जाऊंगा, because I want you guys to go to the question, go to the option, and then I can help you out. But definitely at this point of time, I want you guys to write it down: broad, alien, narrow, and extreme. How to eliminate the options. Let's go to the first one, which is broad. When I'm talking about the broad options, let's talk about the example. See, paper setter, I always say that paper setter basically play with your psyche. It basically, they basically know that your anxiety level will be too high, because you have been preparing for CAT for so many months, and that's where you have that pressure, and they will play with that particular thing, and they will lay the traps there, and that's where you need to take care of those traps. Let's talk about the broad option. For example, the passage is talking about, let's say, the passage is talking about the passage is talking about the challenges faced during the current pandemic. I'm repeating, the main idea of the passage is the Asian countries. The main idea the main idea of the passage is, let's say, India and China. Main idea of the passage is India and China. They are, let's say, how they are facing this problem in current pandemic due to the population. Due to the population, how, or due to the overpopulation rather, how they are facing the problem and the challenges which they are facing to tackle the current pandemic situation. This is the main idea of the passage. In the options, one option will be given to you. All Asian countries, including India and China, are facing the problem due to overpopulation in handling the current situation. So there the problem is all Asian countries, including India and China. So we don't know. We don't know about other Asian countries are facing that problem or not. In the passage, it is only given about India and China. So those options are my broad category options. Those options are my broad category options. Or let's say if at all there is a given, all nations are facing this problem. Or the option is India and China, due to overpopulation, will face, India and China, due to overpopulation, will face this problem in all the pandemic situations. I don't know. I know only about the COVID situation. I don't know about all the situations. So these are the options which are broad. Next, when I'm talking about the options which are alien in nature, as the word says, alien, which is out of the context. If the passage is talking about the overpopulation problem in India and China, and then in the option it is also given about the political situation in these countries, or they will be giving one option about the communist party in that particular option, or they are giving one option related to, let's say, what BJP government or the Congress government is saying, or probably they will give one option about, let's say, the hostility which is there between India and China. So I'm not concerned about all these options, and they will be my alien option. The third in the list is narrow. Obviously the context of the question will vary, but I'm just giving you the example with taking one main idea as a point. Agar aapko main idea question aa jaye to. Third option is narrow. When I'm talking about narrow, in the same, let's say, question, you have the option only India and China among all the Asian countries. I repeat, only India and China among all Asian countries are facing this problem of handling COVID-19 situation due to the overpopulation problem. Those, my dear, my dear friend, is a narrow option, because we are talking only here. We have mentioned the word only. The passage is talking about India and China. That doesn't mean only India and China is facing this problem. Probably author chose to mention, or author chose to write about India and China only, not about other Asian countries. So that will be making my option narrow. And the fourth one is extreme category. एक्सट्रीम कैटेगरी का मतलब क्या होगा, which means जो हम उसको बहुत स्ट्रेच कर दिए, हमने मेन आइडिया को बहुत ज्यादा स्ट्रेच कर दिया है. I'll talk about the extreme option also, and if I have to give the same example, the population problem which I'm talking about, so यहाँ पर extreme option क्या आ जाएगा, India will face, the word will, India and China will face this problem throughout the next decade. So I don't know, because the word will is making this option to extreme. So I'm writing all these options for your benefit. Just a minute. So these are the options. So यहाँ पर the word is will. मैंने जो example दिए, there can be other options also, but यहाँ पर कुछ examples जो मैंने दिए, I'm writing that down. Will, narrow के अंदर I'm using the word only, right? This is something which you can say. Alien के अंदर, which I'm writing the options which are out of context. And let's say if I'm talking about the broad category, we are talking about all, right? So these are the four major words which you need to take care of before eliminating the options. And from now on till the time we will be recording all the videos, or we'll be delivering all the videos, or when I will be teaching all the reading comprehension to you guys, I'll be eliminating the options on the basis of broad, alien, narrow, and extreme. And let's start now with the passage now. So I'm talking about passage number 1. So just a minute. Yeah. So this is the passage, and take let's say 4 minutes. Take 4 minutes to finish this passage quickly. I'm sure you must have read the passage now, right? And I'm sure you must have taken only 4 minutes, because that's very important. Timing is very, very important. Now let's go to the passage quickly, because it was comparatively, I would say, a very easy passage. Short passage था, easy passage था. Main idea एक था जो आराम से मेरे ख्याल से हम decipher कर पा रहे थे. Let's understand. Researcher compared the number of tooth fractures. So the first thing, the main thing which they are talking about here is the tooth fracture. So the first thing they are talking about here is the tooth fracture. Okay. Researchers compared the number of tooth fractures in the present day carnivores. Carnivores basically जो कि animals वगैरह जो meat वगैरह खाते हैं, that is carnivorous animals, right? Herbivorous, carnivorous शायद पढ़ा होगा. Herbivorous, those feed on plants. Carnivorous, those feed on animals. So they are talking about the tooth fracture. उनके दांत fracture हो जाते हैं, टूट जाते हैं in the present day carnivorous, with tooth fracture in carnivores that lived 36,000 to 10,000 years ago. So what they are saying is they are comparing किसको compare कर रहे हैं? Present day carnivorous को with the carnivorous of 36,000 to 10,000 years ago. उनके पास जिंदगी में और कोई काम नहीं है, I don't know. And that were preserved in the Rancho La Brea tar pits in Los Angeles. And that basically are preserved. क्या? These 36,000 to 10,000, these are preserved here at this particular site. The breakage frequencies in the extinct species, those species जो जा चुकी हैं, extinct species जो जा चुकी हैं, उनके अंदर जो ब्रेकेज की फ्रीक्वेंसी है, टूटने की जो फ्रीक्वेंसी है, is strikingly high. मतलब it's much high than those in the present day species. So that's the main thing they are talking about. And as I always say, that the first and the last paragraph is very, very important. So what they are saying is the breakage frequencies are strikingly higher than those in the present day species. This is what the first idea. And अगर इसको हमारे को short के अंदर लिखना है, they are talking about the present day species. They don't have much frequency in the fracture as compared to the extinct ones. That's what they have done. That's the conclusion they are getting into. Now, how? What's the premise behind that? Let's understand the premise. In considering possible explanation, now they are trying to give the explanation, a possible explanation, not necessarily कि ये explanation ही होगा, possible, right? In considering the possible explanation for this finding, the researcher, तो finding ये आ गई है, इसका possible explanation क्या है? The researcher dismissed the demographic bias because older individuals were not overrepresented in the fossil samples. Now, when we talk about a demographic bias, which means we are talking about age, we are talking about the area which they live in, we're talking about the culture they're coming from, we talk about, so these are all demo means about people. So right, we are talking about the people characteristics, right? So here we are talking about, they have dismissed it. So very important line to note here. So I'll just, very sorry for that. I'll just mention the demographic bias they are talking about. So demographic biasness, what they have done is, they have dismissed it. They have dismissed the demographic biasness. Point number one to be noted, my lord, because what they are saying is in the fossil samples, it is not the case that the older, someone जिसका age ज़्यादा हो, उनको अपन ने over represent किया है, ऐसा कुछ नहीं है. Point number one, the first premise, which is not the solution, which is not what they are getting into. Second, they rejected preservation biasness also. So first, they rejected the demographic biasness. Second, they are rejecting the preservation biasness also because a total absence of breakage in two extinct species demonstrated that fractures were not the result of aberration within the pits. So now they are talking about कि preservation की वजह से ऐसा नहीं हुआ है. It's not about a preservation की वजह से कुछ ऐसा हुआ हो, because a total absence भी है कई जगह breakage के अंदर within the pits, right? They ruled out the local biasness, and the third they are talking about ruling out the local bias because breakage data obtained from other Palestinian sites were similar to the La Brea data, which means it's not possible that the fossils which is there in the La Brea, Los Angeles, there only these species are there. Local bias is not there because when we move to other sites also, there also the same problem was there. The explanation they consider most plausible. So the most plausible, जो एक possible explanation हो सकता है, what is that? Is the behavioral differences between the extinct and the present day carnivorous. So this is, my dear students, the major difference here is they are talking about the behavioral differences. That is what they are mentioning. ये सबसे important चीज है जिसके लिए वो बोल रहे हैं कि एक ये explanation हो सकता है. जरूरी नहीं है कि ये है, और मैं बारी बारी आपको इसलिए बता रहा हूं बिकॉज पेपर सेटर अगेन विल प्ले विद योर साइकी और आप जल्दबाजी के अंदर नंबर्स गलत कर देंगे या ऑप्शंस को गलत मार्क कर देंगे. इट्स ऑल अबाउट द बिहेवियर डिफरेंसेस बिटवीन द एक्सटिंक्ट एंड द प्रेजेंट डे कार्निवोरस इन पर्टिकुलर. नाउ why, what is that behavioral difference? They are trying to explain it. Now what they are saying is, in particular, more contact between the teeth of the predators and the bones of the prey due to more thorough consumption of carcasses by the extinct species. So what they are saying is, पहले के टाइम में जो prey होता था और जो predator होता था, प्रेडेटर के जो बोन्स होते थे या प्रेडेटर के जो टीथ होते थे और जो प्रे के बोन्स होते थे वो बहुत ही अच्छी तरीके से कांटेक्ट में आते थे। उसका रीजन वो समझाने की कोशिश कर रहा है। यहां चलते हैं वापस। More contact between the teeth of predators and the bones of the prey due to the thorough consumption of caracases. So thorough consumption का मतलब बहुत अच्छी तरीके से उस prey को वो लोग खाते थे। Thorough consumption they are talking about. Okay, such thorough carcass consumption implies to the researcher either that prey availability was low. Now what they are saying is because the prey availability was low and that's the reason वो बहुत thorough consumption करते थे, बहुत अच्छी तरीके से खाते थे, at least seasonally, और ज्यादा नहीं तो at least season के वक्त। और या फिर एक प्रॉब्लम ये हो सकती है, या फिर इतना ज्यादा कंपटीशन था over kills and a high rate of the carcass theft due to relatively high predator densities, और इतने ज्यादा शिकारी थे, इतने ज्यादा प्रेडेटर थे, तो उनको बहुत टाइटली उनको पकड़ के रखना पड़ता था सो दैट वो चोरी ना हो जाए या कोई और इनको लेके ना चला जाए। और ज्यादा जानने के लिए देखिए नेशनल ज्योग्राफिक या डिस्कवरी चैनल, राइट, और एनिमल प्लैनेट। सो दिस इज व्हाट द पैसेज 1 वाज ऑल अबाउट। शॉर्ट, स्वीट, द मेन आइडिया इज all bias they have rejected it, and the only bias, the possible answer they are talking about is कि पहले के टाइम में शायद प्रे बहुत कम मिलते थे, right? Let's move to the questions now. Question number 1 in front of you, the primary purpose. Now when I'm solving the primary purpose, guys, I'm hiding this thing, and you also need to do the same thing. Don't go to the passage. Don't go to the passage. Just focus on the question and try to mark the answer. Why? Because the primary purpose of the passage they are talking about. They are not talking about anything else. They are talking about the primary purpose. And let's start solving it now with me. Basis of the elimination technique. Option number 1. The primary purpose of the passage is to present several explanations for a well-known fact. First problem they are talking about is a several explanation. They are only talking about one explanation. They have only explained one explanation at the last. ठीक है? Second problem with this option is for a well-known fact. We don't know if this fact is well-known or not. What they said was in the starting that researcher compared that, and the only thing which they said was the breakage frequencies in the extinct species were higher than those in the present date species. Whether it is a well-known fact, I don't know. Problem number 1. And providing several explanations, they have only provided one explanation in the last. Right? So due to this, it's making my option broader. Due to this, it's making my option broader. I will eliminate option number 1. Right? Let's go to option number 2. Suggest alternative method for resolving a debate. There is no debate at all. There is no debate at all. No one is debating on this. Scientists are just trying to give the explanation. That's, my dear students, an alien option. Out of context. इन वर्ड्स को पकड़ो जो पेपर सेटर ने रखा हुआ है, and I am telling you, you will be through. And don't worry in this particular video if you get even all the questions incorrect. So today in this video, I'll be probably solving 2 or 3 passages. Even if you get not a single question right, that's completely fine. But as and when we'll move further, you have to understand the logic what I'm getting into. And कई students ऐसे होंगे जिनका शायद आंसर सही भी निकल गया होगा. So I'm not concerned much with whether your answer is right or wrong. I'm concerned with whether the logic is correct or incorrect. Let's move further. Argue in favor of a controversial theory. There is no controversial theory they are talking about. No controversial theory they are talking about. Again, my dear students, that's an alien option. Okay. Question the methodology used in the study. No one is questioning methodology used in the study. ये study के लिए क्या methodology use हुई थी? First of all, they have not given. Even if they have given it, nowhere anyone is questioning that, and that's again my alien option. Here we go. I have eliminated A, B, C, D. A is broader, B, C, and D is alien option. And here we go. Coming to the primary purpose of the passage, discuss the implications of a research finding. You have some finding with you based on the research you have done. So there is a research finding with you. Now you are discussing the implications of that. How? Why? Kya hua? And that's what my primary purpose of the passage is all about. The second paragraph completely was talking about this, and this is how you need to solve reading comprehension. If you have any doubts, any confusion, or you want to clarify this, or you have some good explanation of another option maybe as answer, please write in the chat box below, or you can get in touch with on the Telegram group as well, mentioning the video and the passage you are talking about. Let's move to question number 2. Again, question number 2. So first was a more of a inference based questions, no fact based. Now let's talk about question number 2. What it says? The passage suggests that compared with the Palestine carnivorous in other areas, Palestine carnivorous in the La Brea area. So क्या बोल रहा है? जो Palestine carnivorous other areas में थे. Here we go. Because the breakage data obtained from other Palestine sites were similar to the La Brea data. Similar to the La Brea data, right? So क्या आंसर होना चाहिए? Let's see. Now this, my dear friends, is a fact-based question. This is a fact-based question, and to solve this, yes, you can go to the passage. I am telling you which are the questions where you need to go to the passage and where you should not, right? So the passage suggests that compared with the Palestine carnivorous in other areas, Palestine carnivorous in the La Brea area, and here we go, I have mentioned it, it's similar. The breakage data is similar. And let's move to the question. Halaki, there is one option which is giving me that answer, had a similar frequency of tooth fracture, have a similar breakage data. But let's talk about all other options as well, why they can't be the answer. Option number 1, included the same species in approximately the same proportions. I am not concerned about the species. I am not concerned about the species. I am concerned about fractures. I am not concerned about species. I am concerned about fractures, and that's why option number A eliminated. Option number 2, हालांकि हमने इसको आंसर मार्क कर दिया. Let's go to option number 3. Populated the La Brea area more densely. No, I can't say that they have populated the La Brea more densely, and I am talking more about the frequency of the fracture. My option C eliminated. D, consumed their prey more thoroughly. That was given here. Now that's the biggest mistake which we do. I repeat, that's the biggest mistake which we do while solving the options. Lines, if there is any line which you have seen in the passage, you kind of feeling very happy, yeah, I got the answer. But my dear students, that's not the case. Every line from the passage can't be your answer, right? So you have to see in what context the question is given to you and that option is given to you. So again, D option is given at the last, but we are talking something about here. Found it harder to obtain sufficiency prey. Again, that's here at the last, not in the context of when we are talking about the La Brea data. So here option B is the right answer for you, right? So this was the fact-based questions. Going back to the passage for these kind of questions definitely makes sense. Sometimes students come back to me and say that, sir, kabhi kabar aap bolte ho that don't go to the passage, and sometimes you start yelling at us that why you have not gone to that passage and went and marked this option incorrectly. The reason is you should understand where should I go, on which kind of passages. There are two reasons. There are two reasons here for a student to go back to the passage, because the passage was small. You don't have to scroll much, right? So passage was very small. That was the first reason. And here I could have marked the answer very correctly because that's a fact-based question, and all other options, because if I talk about the last two options specifically, those were mentioned, those were taken from the passage. So it was very important or very, very useful if we have to go to the passage, right? Let's move to the question number 3. Question number 3 says, according to the passage, researchers believe that the high frequency of tooth breakage in carnivorous found at La Brea was caused primarily by, right? The high frequency, tooth breakage की जो high frequency है, right? Why? It is why. And here we will talk about the plausible reason, the plausible explanation we will talk about here. Let's see what the plausible explanation is. The aging process in individual carnivorous. Oops, my alien option. Nowhere I am talking about the alien option. The two things which researcher was telling us The first one was probably the thorough consumption and the second one was theft. These were the two reasons, and I'll keep all my mind and heart to wait for those two reasons to come in the options, right? Let's go to option number 2. Contact between the fossils and the pit. Okay, again an alien option, sir. You talked about the two reasons and we are waiting to find those two reasons. Poor preservation. Oops, again poor preservation, not a plausible explanation. Option D, the impact of the carnivorous teeth against the bones of their prey. Yes, 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 that's what they have given here. Where, sir? Where it is given? I'll show you. That's where the more contact, sorry for that, they have mentioned more contact between the teeth of the predators, the bones of the prey due to thorough consumption of blah blah blah. So this is what they have given here. So yes, D can be my plausible answer. E kya bol raha hai? The impact of carnivorous teeth against the bones of other carnivorous during fight over kills. वो क्या बोल रहा है? The impact of carnivorous teeth against the bones of other carnivorous. This is where this option is getting narrower. We don't know if it is about other carnivorous. Their prey can be a carnivorous or a herbivorous. We don't know, right? And that's where we are talking about a narrow option here. They have specifically mentioned other carnivorous, and that's where, my dear students, D option will be the answer. I hope you are getting the questions now. I hope you are getting how I am eliminating the options, right? If you have any problem, difficulty, do reach out to me, and let's move to the next. The researcher conclusion concerning the absence of demographic bias would be most seriously undermined. Okay, now this was a very good question. This was a very good question. Again, inference-based question. The important thing here is to understand the question. Let's talk about the question. The researcher conclusion. Researcher ने जो conclusion किया था, here, the contact. The researcher conclusion concerning the absence of demographic bias. Okay, sorry. So the researcher conclusion concerning where he dismissed the demographic biasness. Sorry for that. So the researcher conclusion concerning the absence of demographic biasness, where they said that the fossils were not majorly of older individuals. So he dismissed that. So researcher conclusion concerning the absence of demographic bias would be seriously undermined if it were found that. Now, वो क्या बोल रहा है? When we talk about the demographic bias, and this researcher have actually rejected that, now if you have to undermine that, you have to, this is where you have to anticipate the options. What can be the options? Without even going to the options, without even seeing the options, think about it. What you should think, that okay, if let's say we talk about undermining, I have to mark that option which is kind of saying that demographic bias can be the answer. He's coming to the conclusion based on the age. I have to find out the option that demographic bias can't be rejected, and that's how it can undermine or weaken the author conclusion. Let's find out the option. Option number 1. The older as individuals carnivorous is, the more likely it is to have a large number of tooth fractures. वो क्या बोल रहा है? So the older the individual is, more likely it would have a large number of tooth fractures. Okay. So यहाँ पर when we are talking about the older, यहाँ पर we have to compare between the older and younger. Point number 1. यहाँ पर there is no comparison is given. That's okay. That's okay. Let's say कि हम जितना बूढ़ा होगा उतने ज़्यादा tooth fracture होंगे. That's okay. But what they are giving here is that how you can dismiss the demographic biasness here, which they have typically mentioned here, that they have not overrepresented the fossil samples. Let's go to option number 2. Option number 2 is talking about the average age. Option number 2 is talking about the average age at death of a present day carnivorous is greater than was the average age at death of a Pleistocene carnivore. What should I do with the age? What should I do with the age or the average age. What should I do with that? Because here we are talking about comparing of the tooth fracture. What should I do with the present age? Let's go to option number C. In Pleistocene carnivorous species, older individuals consumed carcasses as thoroughly as did younger individuals. If they consumed as thoroughly as did the younger individuals, again, the question remained the same. Again, the question remained the same. You can't undermine that. You can't undermine that. D. Undermine matlab you have to exactly state opposite of what it is given. The method used to determine animal ages in fossil samples tend to misidentify many older individuals as younger individuals. वो क्या बोल रहा है? जो मेथड हम यूज करते हैं फॉसिल सैंपलिंग के लिए, उसमें गलती से जो ओल्डर इंडिविजुअल्स हैं उसको हम यंगर कर देते हैं. अगर तुम उसको ओल्डर से यंगर में लेके आ जाओगे तो आपका ये पूरा फाइंडिंग डिस्ट्रॉय हो जाएगा. तो आपका ये पूरा फाइंडिंग डिस्ट्रॉय हो जाएगा. सर कैसे? बिकॉज अगर आप ओल्डर को यंगर में लेके आ रहे हो, am I right? या अगर आप ओल्डर को यंगर में लेके आ रहे हो, which means it is the demographic bias. It is not the younger ones, it is the older ones. They have this kind of, when they talk about the represented data is of the older ones, and that can be one of the plausible reason as well. So this option is undermining it completely. This option is undermining it completely. Don't worry, I'll explain it again. Just hold on. Let me go to the next option. Data concerning the ages of the fossil sample cannot provide reliable information about the behavioral. So यहाँ पर behavioral differences की बात कर रहे हैं out of context because we are only talking about demographic differences. We are only talking about demographic differences. Let me eliminate these options. Let me go to this again so that you can understand it properly. The older the individual carnivorous is, the more likely it is to have a large number of tooth fractures. जितना ज्यादा बूढ़ा होगा उतने ज्यादा टूथ फ्रैक्चर्स होंगे. बट मेरे को वो बात तो ठीक है, बट यहां पर बात कर रहे हैं कि बूढ़े लोगों का जो रिप्रेजेंटेशन है वो ज्यादा नहीं है, तो ये मेरे इसको अंडरमाइन नहीं कर रहा. That's okay, the statement is fine, but यहाँ पर they have specifically mentioned that older individuals are not overrepresented. Second option, the average age of the death. So we are talking about the average age of the death, not concerned about the tooth fractures. My option got eliminated. Option C, they are talking about the consumed carcass thoroughly as did younger individuals. If both the individuals are doing it thoroughly, you can't say that whether this conclusion is right or wrong. Demographic bias question will not even come because the both are same. And that's where, my dear students, D option here will give you the answer that आप older individuals को younger consider कर रहे हो, हालांकि वो younger नहीं है, वो older ones हैं, इसलिए आपका explanation गलत आ रहा है. So इसीलिए आपके explanation को आपको redefine करना पड़ेगा, and that's where it is undermining. I hope it is clear. Do mention in the comment section below. Okay, so the answer to this question is option number D. And let's move to the last. The passage suggests that if the researcher had not found the two extinct carnivore species were free of tooth breakage, the researcher would have concluded that. अब वो क्या बोल रहा है? यहाँ पर उन्होंने बात किया था the absence. Yeah, here we go. They rejected the preservation of the biasness because of total absence of the breakage in two extinct species demonstrated that the fractures were not the result of abrasion within the pits. So there were no breakage at all. The absence of the breakage, there were no breakage at all. So where they are concluding that there was no abrasion within the pits. अब वो ये बोल रहे हैं अगर रिसर्चर ये नहीं पाया होता, if researcher have not found that, let's anticipate the options. तो रिसर्चर शायद कंक्लूड ये कर लेते कि जहां प्रिजर्वेशन हुआ था वहां पर प्रॉब्लम हो सकती है. Let's go to the options now. Option number 1, the difference in breakage frequencies could have been the result of damage to the fossil remain in the La Brea pits. That can be my answer. Anticipate, guys. थिंक बिफोर इवन गोइंग टू द ऑप्शन, थिंक क्या ऑप्शन हो सकता है. मैं अगेन तुम्हें कॉन्टेक्स्ट समझाने की कोशिश कर रहा हूं. उसने बोला था यहां पर कि दो स्पीशीज ऐसे, इन एक्सट्रीम स्पीशीज ऐसे थे जहां पर ब्रेकेज नहीं था, इसीलिए हम नहीं बोल सकते वहां प्रिजर्वेशन का प्रॉब्लम था. अगर उनको ये नहीं मिलता तो क्या होता, तो वो बोल देते प्रिजर्वेशन का प्रॉब्लम था. एंड दैट्स वेयर ए ऑप्शन इज टॉकिंग अबाउट. लेट्स गो टू ऑप्शन नंबर बी. The fossils in other Pleistocene sites could have higher breakage frequencies than do fossils in the La Brea pits. How you can say that? Because we are only talking about the La Brea pits here. We are only talking about the La Brea pits here. Okay, next. Pleistocene carnivore species probably behaved very similarly. What it has to do with the question here? What it has to do with the question here, they behaved similarly or not, I don't know. And the next option is all Pleistocene carnivorous species differed behaviorally. Again, the C and the D option, they are talking about behaving very similarly, they are talking about behaving very differently. These both the options is not affecting it, right? The context is not even affecting that कि वो क्या conclude कर पाते हैं. And the last is predator densities during the Pleistocene era were extremely high. What should I do? ये नहीं कर सकते because ये मैं last में बात कर रहा हूँ. It is not even in the context for which the question is asked, and that's why D option is also not the answer. I will mark with option number A. So this is how you need to solve the questions. एलिमिनेट द ऑप्शंस. मैं आपको एलिमिनेशन टेक्निक सिखा रहा हूं कि किन पॉइंट्स पे जाके आपको एलिमिनेट करना पड़ता है. और जहां मैंने बोला था हाउ टू अप्रोच द क्वेश्चंस, एंटीसिपेट द ऑप्शंस. बिकॉज हम लोग कई बार क्या होता है, ऑप्शंस हमारे को ज्यादा कंफ्यूज कर लेते हैं. वी आर वेरी मच क्लियर अबाउट द मेन आइडिया, we are very much clear about what can be the answer, but the moment we see the option, it tend to confuse us. So anticipate what can be the answer. Just put your brains there, try to find out that answer, and I'm definitely sure that you will find one in the options.